What the hell happened to wrestling?
Outlaws.
Hello friends, episode 78 of the Middle-Aged Outlaws podcast. Welcome. Today we're talking TNA Bound for Glory. We continue on our journey. We've made it to 2010. We've made it to the Hulkamania era of TNA. Can you believe it, Adam? We've made it here.
And I feel like I've been dreading getting to this era for weeks.
And now you're here. Is it a bit like going to a party? You can't really be bothered socialising. Now you're here, you're like having a good time?
Like, I feel like I've been at worse parties, but that doesn't mean I want to stay.
That's, yep, I can relate to that significantly. Yes, indeed. Okay, well, it's a star-studded TNA roster that we find ourselves wandering into in this 2010 year. Say that. And no signs of Brutus Beefcake, the Nasty Boys, Bubba the Love Sponge, who I believe comes on board at some point in TNA as well. So we've done all right, I think, with this one.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah.
Shall we just jump straight into it?
Let's do this.
Can you believe this son of a bitch? We're going to blame Hogan for anything bad, right?
Okay, that's fine.
Can we agree to that? Bischoff, maybe, a little bit.
Yeah.
Russo, I don't even know if Russo's still booking there. Do you think he probably is?
I know there was definitely a period in time when Bischoff and Russo were both there, I'm sure,
Right.
at the same time.
Cornette's obviously on the outs. He's gone.
Yeah.
By the looks of it. What I was going to say is, can you believe that the six-sided ring is gone?
I'm a wee bit sad. Like, I think you messaged me about it, and I hadn't watched yet, and I kind of wondered how quickly I would notice if I was just watching it. Would I be like immediately like, "Hey, what's going on here?" But I can never, like, I do feel like it added something a little bit different. It gave it its own unique look, whereas now it just looks like any other wrestling ring. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe as we go through the show, I'll think, oh, you could have done that if you had the six sides.
It's funny because as soon as the pay-per-view started, it's gone, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think you miss it either. And I liked it as well, and it gave TNA its sort of uniqueness. But there's also something about, I think, the way in which the presentation looks a lot sleeker, look more polished. I think they did a really good job with the way that this pay-per-view looks, actually. I wondered if that was perhaps a Bischoff, if you'd introduce something around that, because it does
a bit of polish.
It does look a lot better, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah, I suppose he's very experienced in the ways of running a TV show for wrestling. So yeah, could have been him behind that.
So we are in Daytona Beach, Florida, in the back garden of the Hulkster, and it's 10-10-10, a number which appears to be built up in significance by Abyss and the promotion that something gigantic is going to happen. It's funny, in the Attitude Era, whenever a pay-per-view would open up and you'd get JR saying, "This is going to be the most explosive evening in the WWF history," and I feel like that's what TNA are kind of going for here as well.
Yeah, I think Schiavone used to do it every time as well. The greatest night in the history of our business and stuff like that.
We've got 6,500 in attendance, which is a drop from the previous year, but still up on years previous that we've seen when they were in the Impact Zone. We kick off with a wordless video package, very intense but wordless video package, showing, again, like they do this every year now, they just sort of show everybody it's going to be on the card. It's quite cool, I thought.
Thought it was okay, yeah. I did like had that thing where when I saw Hogan in the video package, I thought, okay, here we are. And then I don't know why, but I was quite shocked when I saw Flair. I thought, oh, Flair's here. Okay, that's weird. And then I think there's a suggestion that Abyss was having his final match in TNA, and says that they will be revealed tonight. And also was it a little bit of a bombshell? Kurt Angle will leave TNA if he doesn't win the title tonight.
Yeah. And I was going to text you as soon as they said that. I thought, well, why are we watching this? But yeah, we shall speak about the main event later on. Let's kick off with our first match, which was a tag team title match. Our boys, the Motor City Machine Guns, who looks like they've finally been pushed from novelty cool tag teamers to full on main tag teamers in a company which does put a lot of stock in their tag teams, so it's good to see that they are at that level. They're taking on Generation Me, Max and Jeremy Buck, aka the Young Bucks. How did you enjoy this opening match? I'm really intrigued to hear, because you're clear, you're not a fan of your indie or really modern wrestling.
I don't like a lot of what the modern product has to offer, and I find the Bucks to be very, very irritating. Now, maybe a lot of the time they're supposed to be, and you're supposed to be annoyed by them. That's the point. But I still went into this, and as soon as I saw them, I really was hoping they would get beaten up. I didn't mind them. I thought it was a decent quality match. I thought, the movesets by both teams I thought were pretty good. Been impressed by the combinations of the Motor City Machine Guns a few times. I think they've got something. I think these
guys could go somewhere.
Yeah. A lot of the moveset is combination moves, which I really like in a tag team. I thought it was probably rare or unusual that we would see them where they're the bigger guys, the stronger guys, because the Bucks are pretty small, and they're very much playing up on their just annoying wee bastards sort of thing that they've got going on at the moment. Well, in this storyline, and maybe at the moment as well. But yeah, I quite enjoyed the match. I was trying not to be too clouded by my thoughts on the Bucks right now, and just taking it as I saw it. And I found it pretty entertaining, I have to say.
Nice. Yeah, I did too. I thought this was a really good example of how the Young Bucks could work, would work if managed, i.e. not just allowed to do whatever the hell they want, running across the ring doing suckets and whatnot. I thought this was a really well-paced match. The only issue I had with it was that it went on too long. There was a couple of finishing moves that I thought there's no way they're going to be able to kick out of that.
Yeah.
The Bucks really. I was watching it. Interestingly, I was watching it with my 9-year-old, and he was like, "Oh my god, the Young Bucks are amazing! Look at that! Look at that!" So it's quite interesting to see the difference. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was probably the best match on the pay-per-view, to be honest.
I was happy that with the, obviously there is quite a lot of high impact, high speed maneuvers on the go, but they were telling a story as well. We got the story of the fact that, what were they called? Generation Me is what they're called here.
Yep.
Had come into TNA, and they had shown respect for Motor City Machine Guns. They sort of played it that they were looking up to them, and then there was like an attempt to injure them, to take them out of the picture, and now there was bad blood, and in particular I think it was Saban's neck that had been injured. And through the match they were doing a moveset that was designed to go after the neck, which I like, that sort of basic story in a match. So much as there was some of the is it disrespectful to say the phrase flippy shit?
I thought you were going to say flippy shit. I thought that's.
I felt like a lot of it had a purpose within a story, which I'm fine with.
Nice. That was very positive. I'm impressed.
I still really wanted them to get beaten up, though.
That's their gimmick, though. This Generation Me, they were Mike Tenay, like sickeningly saying, he's like, all they care about is themselves and all this sort of things. Aye,
I also thought it was quite good positioning of the match in terms of, we've talked about before, you want to get your show off to a good fast start and get the crowd into it, and I felt like that was the type of match that can do that.
Yeah, agreed. Excellent. Oh, good start. It's a good job because it goes downhill pretty quickly. Backstage, do you think JB is gone? He's nowhere to be found, is he?
Yeah, I think he's held various roles within the company over the years, so maybe he was a bit more backstage involved in creative or something like that.
So we've got Christy Hemme as our backstage roving reporter now. She is with Madison Rae. She has got quite the attitude, terrible attitude. She refers to Mickie James as a skank and somebody else as a bitch. I just didn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah.
And was there two of them? Was this Tara and Madison Rae?
So Tara and Madison Rae, and I think the story here is that Madison Rae had been in the Beautiful People group,
right?
And then she had been like excommunicated from that group, so she's like trying to get revenge, and she's got Tara on her side. Tara's got her back.
This gave me Sons of Anarchy PTSD when they kept referring to her as Terra. Tara is who? Victoria?
Yes.
And she was in it. I think she was in it maybe the last pay-per-view. I guess she's maybe been away and came back. They're kind of positioning her as like the Nash to her Michaels sort of thing, aren't they? Bodyguard type thing.
So we're getting like it's going to be a weird match because it's is it a 4-way? It's a 4-way, but it's like the
two teams.
Two teams basically. Yeah.
And they do a backstage thing with Angelina Love and Velvet Sky. They're just talking over each other all the time.
Yeah.
Like, not in a fun, this is our gimmick way, but in a,
no,
fuck me, this is annoying. Fast forward.
It did seem like they were both trying to be the ones to get a bit of mic time, which, I don't know, like, surely you've figured that all out before you do it.
It went great. So that takes us into our match. We've got Mickie James. Do you think this is her coming off WWE?
I'm assuming so. She got quite a reaction, didn't she? I think obviously she was known to the crowd, and yes, I mean she for quite a while was a pretty big star, really. I think quite well respected as well known. Yeah.
So she's our special ref. She looks absolutely fantastic. We need more of this. I think even Taz says if Mickie James could referee every match, looking like that, we'd be happy. Normally, don't mind the knockouts matches. I think over the years, over the Bound for Glory, some of them have been okay. We've had Awesome Kong, Gail Kim. Who was the one that we thought could wrestle? Was that Madison Rae?
No.
Oh,
what was her name? I think she'd been on the last 2 shows, hadn't she?
She was good. Aye.
Yeah, I can't remember the name now, but yeah, I don't think there was any sign of her this event.
I'd put Terra to the side, Victoria. We know that she's a good wrestler. The other 3 stink. Sorry, that's horrible, but it was not. No good.
I felt like they were even like as a spectacle. They were making it a lot more about the entrances than what was actually going on in when the bell rang.
Trying to lean into a bit of that'd be Bischoff with his hot leg HLA, wouldn't it? Try to lean into all that sort of stuff.
Oh, I forgot about HLA.
Jumping straight to the finish, Tara rolls up one of the Beautiful People, Love or Sky. She's supposed to be grabbing the tight. She doesn't even do it. She's just kind of got her fingers dangling there. She gets the pin, much to Madison Rae's annoyance.
There was a moment in the commentary. So all through the match, Madison Rae was doing a lot of screaming. Like that seemed to be her thing. She was screeching and screaming. And there'd been a reference to, she looks okay, but who could cope with all that screaming and screeching? And Taz said something about, can you imagine waking up to her and her screaming, make me some bacon?
Taz is class. I feel like he says stuff that's not meant to be said a lot of the time.
Yeah. It made me laugh. It was the thing I found most entertaining about this match.
Brilliant. I think Mickey James maybe tries to... does she try and intervene between the two of them? Or is she just sort of an innocent bystander?
So I think is it when... So because... Who actually won? Tara won. I think Madison Rayne is angry with Tara because they were together. And I think when things start breaking down between them, Madison Rayne's like getting in her face. And I think Mickey James maybe knocks Madison Rayne down.
She gives her a straight right.
Yeah.
So we get Mickey James in the title picture straight away, which would be wise.
Yeah.
Unbelievably, things get worse before they can get better. We're backstage with Eric Young, who I can only think again we're watching in isolation with no context. They must be doing some sort of concussion related gimmick with them.
There's something going on because there's all sorts of weird stuff happening with him. Like, so he's got they're facing a team called Ink. So tattoo guys, and Eric Young I think has drawn tattoos onto himself. And he's getting interviewed, and
does one of them say porn star across his midriff, like the Thug Life thing, but porn star anyway.
I've got in my notes after the first line about Eric Young having drawn on stuff, I'm like, I don't know where this is going. As Young claims Jordan thinks he's his dad.
Then talks about him having an alternate lifestyle, and was it Christy Hemme questions their relationship as well? Yeah.
And then Young says, I don't care if Orlando Jordan has an alternative lifestyle and is bi, and then there's a pause, and then he says polar. This all didn't play well.
Poor Orlando Jordan goes from being one of JBL's cabinet members to wearing a dress and eyeshadow and getting involved with Eric Young here.
Yeah.
This match is supposed to be entertaining and funny and comedy wrestling, and I can imagine this being a Russo. If Russo's there, this is Russo. Bro, what if the guy just didn't use the basic wrestling tag team rules? He thinks he's the ref. He thinks he's on the other team. It's just stinking horrible.
This match is one of the worst things I've seen on any of the shows we've watched.
This is like the sort of thing they used to do the Vince McMahon rib on someone. Yeah. As a crap gimmick for somebody. It's really bad. Yeah. Like to kind of put into context, like Eric Young's he's just not adhering to like what you expect to happen in a tag team match. And like I say, he's tagging himself. He's tagging like the other team in, and he's being the ref sometimes. He's attacking his own teammate, but not in a malicious way. He's more just like sort of doing it and then celebrating. Yeah. That sounds just nonsense, but that is what he was doing, eh?
Yeah. It was... I didn't know like what the end game was for this, and like you say, if it's a concussion story, okay. Still, the way this played out was horrendous. You've got Young. He's like, I think he is part. Jordan must hold the ropes at one point or something, and Young kicks his arm off the rope, and he has his rule book and all that, and then he just starts attacking him at a point, and then Ink do a double team move on Jordan and get the win, and Young celebrating with them, and it was a really, really weird match.
The only bit I laughed at was he went over to tag Orlando Jordan. I think he tagged him, and then he did the thing where they like pull the rope forward and back and catapulted Orlando Jordan into the ring like a total 90s WWF move. That made me laugh. Nonsense. It's a shame. I like Shannon Moore. He's genuinely pretty good in the ring. Not good.
No.
It gets better from here, I think, pretty much. Although I'm sure your allergies to hardcore wrestling will come in. Jeff Hardy cuts an acceptable promo backstage for about 30 seconds. I always find with Jeff Hardy, whenever we've seen him in TNA and any other wrestling company, whatever that may be, compared with WWE, that he seems much better. I think he might be rubbish at being scripted and talking scripted.
Possibly. Yeah, because I think, a lot of my memories of certainly the Hardy Boys is Matt would do like 3/4 of the speaking, and then Jeff would just do a little bit. But yeah, maybe that is because he struggled with learning the script or making it seem like it was coming from him when it's scripted. And he's maybe just better when he's given a free rein. Just say your thing.
He was all right here.
Yeah.
Okay, X Division match is next. We've got Douglas Williams, who we saw in the previous years. He was a member of the British Invasion. He is competing for the X Division Championship against the champion, Jay Lethal. He's dropped the black machismo. We can be happy just to watch him. I feel like he's buffed up big style. He looks a lot bigger.
Yeah, he did look big. Yeah.
I quite enjoyed this match. It was something a little bit different, even for the X Division. They were presenting Douglas Williams as this guy that sort of hates high-flying type wrestling, likes the technical stuff. Jay Lethal was doing a lot of high-flying sort of stuff. Eventually, Williams has to resort to the high-flying, and it counts against him.
Yeah.
Quite a cool story.
Yeah, I like that. With it. Basically, as soon as they Williams comes out and they start, he's going for your mat-based wrestling. I think they describe it as a very European style and things like that. And it is so opposed to what we do usually see in X Division matches, and I like that. I thought that was a good wrinkle to put in there, because it's so. It lacks clarity exactly, who you have to be eligible to compete in the X Division. So there don't seem to be, strict weight limits and things like that. It's more been about the style and the, nature of the matches. Whereas this, somebody coming in who has been, from what we're told, vocally against that style. And I really liked that it was kind of resorting to that style that cost him the match. It entertained me in a different way to what most X Division matches have. I've got for so long we felt like maybe the X Division, it was almost like a slight comedy match, a bit a ridiculous kind of match, all a bit sort of far-fetched and hard to get caught up in the moment. Whereas with this, it was just totally different, which I liked.
I feel like with the X Division, it started out, what I always think is my touch point for it is, especially when it started, is the sort of wrestling that Lance Storm, Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit would do in ECW. It stood out on the card as sort of a pure wrestling match. In amongst all the hardcore. That's what I feel like Styles and Daniels and Samoa Joe started off as. Then, as we've went throughout the years, and we're only doing it year on year, but it's always been this sort of daft gimmick match.
It's become really high risk, and the amount of times we've seen someone thought, "Oh, is that guy okay?" It's kind of become that match, and I think for a wee while it wasn't usually the title match. It was usually like a tournament match. But it was a bit of a comedy relief type thing. It was like Nash doing the commentary and his guys doing nonsense and stuff like that.
Stuff and that.
Whereas, I think this felt like a championship match. Clash of Styles. It was good. It was good. Cool. I preferred the tag match at the start, but I found this entertaining enough.
There's a really great wee sequence where Williams has got Lethal from behind, pushes him in, takes him right into the corner in the turnbuckle, rolls him back out as if he was going to roll him for a pin. Sequences all the way through that into a German suplex. Never seen that before. It was absolutely brilliant.
Did they call it Rolling Chaos, I think?
Nice.
Yeah, that was good.
That little bitch Hebner did his little gimpy 3 count for that.
Again, you're just wanting Mickey James to referee every match.
So like we say, Williams eventually resorts to a Hurricane Rana off the top rope. Jay Lethal manages to reverse it into a sort of sunset flip roll up and gets the 3, and he escapes with his title basically.
Yeah. And then he's celebrating, and someone called Robbie E and Cookie
Yeah.
blindside him.
Yeah, so I wrote down here we've got some extra from the Jersey Shore appeared, and then they said something about being for the Jersey Shore. I was like, okay, I don't mind this. I don't mind like a gimmick like that when it's so over the top that you can identify it. Yeah, this guy. I never heard of this guy before. He's called. What's he called again? I looked him up. He's in NXT. Robert Stone or something like that. He's a manager in NXT or something now.
Okay.
I never heard of him. Robbie E. Cookie snapping her chewing gum, giving it all the attitude. Having just finished The Sopranos as well, that's quite funny. These
Nice.
New Jersey characters. We're a video package for Abyss versus RVD next, and it's all set around the whole thing is what if RVD hadn't done this, and it sets out a video package, it does it in rewind, takes RVD out of different scenarios. What if he hadn't done this? What if he hadn't won the title? What if he hadn't joined? I loved this.
That was
what
good
a concept.
Yeah. And then as they're having RVD as, remember he was always like the stoner in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've gone for the Zen thing, but I don't think they've gone full on. Let's just make him a sort of comedy goof stoner.
He's not Michelangelo from the Turtles.
Yeah. And I think anyone that liked the RVD of ECW were pretty frustrated with what WWE did with him. It just kind of turned him into a bit of a one-note joke. But yeah, I was happy to see him being a bit more what I feel like he should have been.
Yeah, there's aggression in there. It doesn't have to all just be like, hey, bro, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I liked it too. Like I say, I loved the package, and then he goes, but RVD doesn't deal in what ifs, and I was like, oh fuck. You just cut your legs out. And this is where we get the whole they are coming from Abyss, the revelation of turn, or and all this stuff. What did you think they and all that was going to be?
So I didn't know whether they were just going to make like a bit. See, I had a memory, right, that Abyss, and I think we maybe talked about this on a previous one, Abyss kind of disappears, and the real man, is it Joseph Parks? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Becomes, an on-screen character and a wrestler, and it's like everyone knows they're the same guy, but it's not being. It's like he doesn't know that that's him.
Right.
And I thought, I wonder if this is them sort of going in that direction, but I had no hunch about what might be going on here, to be honest. Did you?
Nah, I thought it's funny. Like I feel like wrestling's had this flirtation with doing like horror gimmick style stuff for years and years. Remember that the Dungeon of Doom and all that stuff that we saw with that He-Man character that was in it. And this felt to me like a Wyatt thing or like some sort of gothic thing that they were going for, but clearly that wasn't what it was. Anyway, we've got a Monsters Ball match. No mention of the 24-hour in a dark room rule again. That has been flushed in the toilet. Abyss versus RVD. This seems like they've built this rivalry pretty well. RVD appears to have been covered in blood multiple times.
Yeah.
In the lead up to this. You hate a Monsters Ball match, Adam. What did you think of... Is this the first singles Monsters Ball match we've had?
Oh, maybe.
I think it maybe is.
I didn't mind seeing RVD in this. I felt like it was a bit different to what we've seen before. Again, it's one-on-one, and there isn't another one-on-one Monsters Ball leaping into my mind right now. Although was Foley and Abyss a Monsters Ball?
Maybe it was.
Yeah. This was nothing like that, thankfully, because RVD's got a really unique moveset, and he can use weapons as part of that rather than just use weapons like other people use weapons, which makes it a little bit more interesting for me. I felt like they're very different Abyss is Abyss, he's your monster, whereas RVD's your guy who, has his moveset. It's almost like a sort of kickboxer slash judo slash wrestler guy going in there and going up against this monster. So I felt like it was just a bit more interesting, certainly more interesting than a Foley Abyss. And there were some moments in it that I enjoyed. I wasn't sure it was, the crowd were chanting, "This is awesome," quite a few times. I'm like, I mean, it's fine. Come on, it's fine. But yeah, I enjoyed seeing RVD, and I quite enjoyed seeing him in this environment because he can work with this environment. He obviously has through ECW years as well.
Yeah. It's funny. There's something about RVD in this. There's something I just couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. Was he just a little bit slower? Probably. That would be understandable.
Yeah.
He looked a bit bigger to what we're used to seeing him. He kept doing the thumb point thing, like too often.
He did do that.
Like a kid playing 2K that's just like, ooh, what does this button do?
Yeah, he did do that a few times. And I think, I think there was maybe always a feeling that, an ECW audience were never, regardless of where the people went, were maybe never going to go full on to WWE. So maybe I think their TNA are hoping, well, some of this audience have maybe come to us and this, getting him's great and the crowd are going to pop for it. I think they were to a decent extent. But yeah, he probably did do that a wee bit too much.
Did you hear his fake Pantera Walk music that he came out to?
I did.
That was not good, eh?
No. No.
There's some cool bits and pieces in this match. I really liked the Rolling Thunder. So Abyss had set up a table between the apron and the guardrail. Ultimately, Abyss always sets things up and they always end up happening to him.
Yep.
Anyway, he's lying on that and RVD does a Rolling Thunder up over the top rope, down through the table. That's cool.
Yeah.
There was... They brought back the old ECW just launch a chair at a guy.
Yeah.
Which
I wasn't that keen on that.
Again, that used to be Sabu's favourite move.
And it's the noise. Like I remember there's one where I think it's RVD going up the turnbuckle and Abyss just throws a chair and it looks like it hits him in the head. And yeah.
And when it hits him in the head, he falls down through the barbed wire board. And he smashes his head off the floor. That's brutal. Yeah,
the head bump on the floor, I was thinking, there's maybe a concussion there. Because you just immediately think that now when somebody's head does that. But yeah, I think that was one of the points where they started chanting, "This is awesome." And I'm thinking, maybe they didn't quite see the slow-mo I just saw with the head.
He's a tag team partner for Eric. What's his face? What's his name? Eric Young.
Yeah.
What was I going to get to? There was something. Oh, the 5-star. Yeah, his 5-star frog splash looks absolutely incredible. Abyss goes to get Janice, who he is left sitting outside. Janice is a blackboard covered in black paint and nails. That looks like the thing that Edge had that I sent you a clip of, doesn't it? It looks like the exact same thing, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it does actually.
Spike's clearly a distant relation of Janice. He goes out and he says, "It's time to go to work, my dear," which I liked. I think you say what you want about Abyss, but he's committed to his character.
Oh yeah, he is all in. So you have to respect that.
I think RVD manages to get Janice off him, smashes him right in the breadbasket, and hits a 5-star frog splash and gets the win.
Yeah,
good result for RVD. I think he's been champion by this point.
Yeah, did they not mention, did he not have to give up the title after getting injured by Abyss?
Oh, right, okay, well, that makes sense. I think
that was part of the story that they were going with.
Okay. Hopefully he goes back up because, like I said, it's a really star-studded roster they've got. Yeah. To have RVD in the mix up the top there, I think would be interesting.
And then we get Abyss after, I think it's after the bell. Abyss says the 10, 10, 10, get ready because here we come.
And I think Taz and Tenay are a bit like, so are they here or what's happening? Nothing happens. We'll find out. We get a video package for the next match, which is setting out the difficult to kind of properly understand what was going on, but Nash, Sting, and the Pope, who is Elijah Burke from, was he in ECW?
I think he might have been, yeah.
They appear to have sort of aligned themselves together. Sting. Oh, what did I say? Sting, Kevin Nash, and the Pope. Sorry, and Samoa Joe and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Joe and Jarrett appear to be sort of defending Hogan.
Yeah. There was, even with the package and the build-up, I was really confused as to what was supposed to be going on here. I definitely. There was talk about Hogan, the money he brings into the company, all that, how good he is going to be for the business, and then I don't know where Jarrett is Jarrett supposed to be, because he's like part owner or former owner? Is he against that? And I don't know, Joe fighting for the younger guys, getting a big spot. I don't know. I got a bit lost with it.
Yeah, Samoa Joe fighting for the honour of Hulk Hogan, which is what Mike Tenay says.
Was that the way around it was?
Seems like the most unbelievable storyline. I just can't imagine that.
Because like the reason is, so that's what it was. Because Nash was actually basically warning people about Hogan, wasn't he? But then he was also talking about the amount of money Hogan brings in.
Yeah.
And I would have thought
that does seem pretty on brand for Nash, to be fair.
I don't like this guy. I don't want him taking my spot, but he is bringing in some money. So. Yeah, that's, I think, probably what confused me initially. I think I was thrown off by who was even defending what side here. Yeah.
And it seems like they've decided to try and take Sting in a full heel way, but it's just Sting with an Affliction t-shirt on, it appears. Yeah. TNA has been infected with Affliction t-shirts, it seems, with going on to Spike TV. Anyway, what did you think of this match? It's a handicap match, 2 versus 3. Did you think Hogan was coming out?
Yeah, I did. I thought Hogan was going to come out, and then I got a bit annoyed early on. It's in my notes about this is the way we're using Joe now. Mm-hmm. That frustrated me. And then, like, so you have a twist, which is Jarrett is going to walk away and leave Joe high and dry on his own. So it's Joe getting a 3-on-1 beat down, taking the jackknife powerbomb from Nash, and that team winning. And I was like, all right, okay, so Jarrett's turned on Joe. That's fine, but yeah, it's just kind of there, and I'm sure there's supposed to be a reason for it. But I was frustrated. I'm fine with the likes of Nash, Sting, Jarrett being in this, but I was a bit annoyed Joe was kind of wasted in this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because almost at the point when Joe looks like he's going to get the hot tag and Jarrett steps away, I was actually thinking, why would Jarrett not be the one that takes all the heat and then Samoa Joe's your hot tag? And because he could build, I can't imagine Jarrett wrecking all 3 guys, I'm sorry. And then he stepped away and it was just kind of like, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Good point. Yeah, I should pay more attention to these things and see these things coming.
And then the 3, like you say, the 3 of them just like a pack of wolves are on top of him, and beat him and destroy him. I was quite impressed with Nash jackknifing Samoa Joe. Yeah. I was a bit concerned we might have a Big Show situation where he dropped him on his head.
I find I'm always like looking at Nash's knees now whenever he's moving about in a ring, so I'm just expecting something to go horribly wrong. But no, he did okay.
He still looks all right here, eh?
Yeah.
I was dead surprised. I thought Hogan was definitely... It just felt Bash at the Beach, but like, we could turn on his head, we'll get the huge pop. Okay. This will come into play later on as well. Team 3D enter the arena, come to the ring. This is the first time on a Bound for Glory or a TNA pay-per-view that we've had an in-ring promo as part of the pay-per-view. Quite interesting. What do you think of this segment? It's kind of nothing really, isn't it?
Yeah.
As far as the pay-per-view and watching in isolation is concerned.
Yeah. I don't think I even took any notes about it.
Okay.
It's just like, okay. That's happening.
So Bubba cuts a very babyface promo about thanking the crowd for the support all over the years, talks about them being the most successful tag team of all time and all this sort of stuff. As of this very moment, Team 3D is officially retired.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to smash. I thought he was going to hit Devon with a microphone.
Yeah, well, I thought there was going to be something because he is saying, as of now, Team 3D are retired. However, we're going to challenge the Motor City Machine Guns for a match, and so that we can retire as champions. And I'm like, but you've said you're
just
done
said
now.
You're done.
Come on, Bubba.
I really thought he was going to turn on Devon.
Yeah, I think we're probably a bit of time away from when they become Bully Ray as the single star. Yeah.
I've got no idea of like aces and eights and stuff like that, so I don't know where all that happened. Tenay and Taz then argue for what seems like quite an inappropriate length of time about if you were the Motor City Machine Guns, about whether or not you would take on this challenge. I assumed that they were buying time for them building the cage or putting the cage up.
Yeah, I've got that in my notes. That is, I've talked about the fact the Dudleys are doing a promo, and then I've just got, this must be to fill in time, because it seemed like it was going on for a fair while.
Then Taz is like, why are you arguing with me about this? No, I'm not arguing with you, I just wouldn't do it. It's like, all right, boys, calm down. Okay, so that takes us to a video package for our next match, which is going to be a lethal lockdown between two warring factions. I have referred to Flair's faction as Fortune, and I've got them as Prestige. They're called Fortune, though, aren't they?
Fortune, yeah.
So we've got Fortune and we've got EV2, which is like ECW Originals faction.
I felt like they were trying to sort of recreate a War Games type thing on the go here. It's very similar as a match, as far as I can tell. And one of them they're all ECW alum, aren't they? One of the teams, yeah. So the
Foley
team
included.
that Foley's leading, yeah. So we've got Sabu, Stevie Richards, Rhino Raven, Tommy Dreamer. And then, they're all, I think most of them are, if not ECW originals, being led by Flair, but mostly guys that have had, TNA originals, but mostly guys that have had their big break anyway in TNA.
So what I was taking from this is this was, again, it was a bit like sort of future stars versus this sort of older lot of extremists. So we go backstage with Fortune, and I counted 4 passes that Ric Flair made at Christy Hemme.
Yeah. Like, when it starts to feel a bit uncomfortable. Like, you've said this sort of, I don't know, the throwaway line as, just say it because you're Ric Flair, but then to keep going back was a little bit like, come on now.
It was too much. She's just sort of awkwardly smiling.
Yeah. And Matt Morgan's like dwarfing everyone. He's like standing there in the back and everyone else looks tiny.
I think Matt Morgan would be better if he didn't speak.
Yeah. And he doesn't really need to, does he? Like, he could easily not. It's not going to take away from anything, really. Well, it would add to it.
Even most of them, like Kazarian says something really generic, then Chris Storm, I think, says something. James Storm, says something really generic. Let AJ talk, let Flair talk, that'll do you.
I remember thinking, I've seen Bobby Roode talk a few times, and he could talk. I'm not sure about him here. I don't know that we've seen him that much speak here. It was more later in his career. But there's no need for a few of these guys to be speaking.
So this must have been round about the time where they wanted to make AJ Styles Ric Flair Jr. Have you ever heard about anything about that? Yeah. So they wanted him to dye his hair. I think they had him coming out wearing the what do you call them? The gowns,
the robe,
the robes. And he just said, and AJ says he's religious. He's got a loving wife. He didn't want to be cutting promos talking about all the women. Fair play to him. I mean,
this is all tied in with the sort of story that Hogan and Bischoff didn't really know who he was, or or who. I think so. Kurt Angle tried to clarify this on his podcast at one point, saying, "Look, when people say they don't know who AJ Styles is, they don't mean they've never seen AJ Styles perform. They know who he is as a guy that can go in the ring, but what they mean is they don't know what his character is, what he's supposed to be." And I think they were trying to get him to do slightly more edgy stuff at times, and by the sounds of it, he just wasn't up for it. It kind of reminded me a wee bit of some of the stuff you heard about Owen Hart. He did brilliant stuff as Brett's angry brother and all that, but there was always the story that he was supposed to have an affair with Deborah, and Jeff would put the wedge between him and Jeff, and Owen just wasn't willing to do it. It was like, nah, not for me, not doing it. I don't mind the guy sticking by his guns and saying, my wrestling should be able to do the talking here.
Yeah. No, I respect that. I respect the fact that he must have had contracts thrown his way throughout his tenure. Surely. He's been really loyal to TNA. He only left TNA because they asked him, I think they asked him either to take a pay cut or they asked him to continue working it. He'd know how to bump.
Yeah, I think he'd become the top star and he was still in a contract that wasn't top star, and I think they either offered him the same or less to stay, which he felt like was disrespectful. So yeah, he left, and he's had a nice little second career for himself, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. He obviously went to New Japan for a couple of years and then in WWE. Yeah.
Was he Bullet Club stuff in New Japan?
Yeah. Like you said, getting back to this match, Lethal Lockdown, very much war games, except for there's a one ring, one cage. After all participants eventually make their way into the match, there's a roof come down and closes on the cage, and attached to the cage are weapons, nightsticks, steel chairs, kendo sticks, whatever. This is a long slog of a match.
Immediately, my first thought was, and I know, we are where we are in society, even more so now than then, but I didn't know who were meant to be like the baby faces and who were meant to be the heels. And sometimes there's a lot of grey, and it's fine. You don't need necessarily one extreme or the other. But because if you put Foley on one side and Flair on the other, my assumption would be Flair's the heel.
Yeah.
But these are TNA guys that are aligned with Flair, and we're in TNA. But you're bringing in, some much loved ECW guys, and some maybe not so much, and putting them together. And it was weird to me. I was like, I don't know what they want the reaction to be here.
Yeah, I felt exactly the same. The dynamic of Flair and Foley is really odd, especially when the only sort of ways that we've seen Foley on this is this sort of jovial, apart where he was involved in that Monsters Ball, but I thought that dynamic was weird as well. Something I did like was seeing Stevie Richards actually wrestle.
Yeah.
And not be a goofy psychiatrist or whatever. He's been a lot. I've always thought he's good in the ring. Going back to ECW, I thought it was good to see him wrestle at least.
Yeah, because even in WWE when he came in and, he did he would have been involved in the Invasion, then the Right to Censor that he was involved in. I never felt like he was just being a wrestler, being a guy having matches in the ring.
Yeah. I don't know. I've got an awful lot of notes, but I don't really want to go through them.
Do you know that, when we're talking about not sure who the good guy, bad guy are supposed to be, that there was a formula for war games that the 2-on-1 advantage always went to the heel team.
The heels.
That's how you put your baby faces in peril. That was a big part of the story. So as I say, I don't mind having a match where there isn't necessarily a all good baby face and an all bad heel. But surely for a match like this, with this structure, you need to know what way you're pushing that.
Because what I perceive to be the heels, the faces had the numerical advantage all the way through this. The ECW guys weren't particularly, growling at the crowd or anything really. They were just going in and going about their business, sort of thing. Yeah. It was more the other guys that were antagonistic, but I still would have thought they were the faces.
I've got another gripe.
Oh, Is it the hole in the cage for the
No.
cameras? All right, okay.
No. Right. I've now seen this in too many multi-person matches.
Oh dear.
One person's up, like going to do a suplex or something like that, and then a third man comes in underneath and performs what's like a double move on the two others. It seems to happen in every single multi-person match we have in TNA.
Yeah, it happens a lot. The whole like I'm going to powerbomb you and you suplex him. And...
Yeah, just like every now and then, if you do that, you'll get a reaction from the crowd. But don't do it every show.
Oh, you're just describing what I think modern wrestling is. It's the same as everything.
Yeah.
Kick out at 25 finishers. Here we go again. But nah, I totally agree with you. That spot is used loads. In women's matches, I feel, especially.
Yeah.
You seem to use that a lot.
I also seem to have got very annoyed that Raven's wrestling in 2010. That seems to have upset me in my notes.
He's going pretty slow, bless him.
Yeah.
Even Tommy Dreamer looks in. To be fair, I think Tommy Dreamer might actually still be wrestling.
Yeah.
But he looks in good shape, Tommy Dreamer. But yeah, poor Raven.
What was Sabu bald?
Yes.
That threw me off immediately.
Me too. Because he's wearing Sabu's stuff, and you're like, he's not pointing at the sky, so is it? You think when he changed his look, he might, like, with changing his, with having a bald head, he might change, like, the baggy pants and all that, but no, he's still going for it, full on homicidal, suicidal. I've never seen a cage with cuts in the walls for the camera to go through. Have you?
I wonder if it's there at other promotion shows, but they're just good at not showing it.
Because like obviously they expose it and they say that Flair's punching through it, the dirtiest player in the game's punching, which I kind of quite like, but I was also like, I've never seen that before. By the time they all get in, you know that door's getting broken open and somebody's going up the top of that, don't you? Especially, they show you that there's a ladder and a table and all that on the top, and you're like, why are they there?
Yeah. Is it? We definitely get Stevie Richards up there, don't we? And is it Kaz?
Kaz, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Matt Morgan's supposed to kick the door open, but he maybe blows it and somebody else ends up getting thrown through the door.
Okay, I had another moment where I thought Matt Morgan maybe made a mistake as well. Something about him and Raven both swinging weapons, and it looked like Raven got quite annoyed.
Oh yes, he like just double legs them on top of people and stuff. I thought the same. Fuck this! Stop doing that to me.
Yeah.
Brilliant. He also powerbombs Sabu against the cage in a really sort of uncomfortable looking way.
Yeah.
And he's sort of just holding him like shit. If I drop him, and then suddenly Sabu's like covered in blood.
I mean, Sabu's had some bad landings in his time, but it didn't quite look like it went as it was planned.
No. Eventually, like you say, Stevie Richards and Kazarian are on the top. Brian Kendrick is up there having a sleep under a blanket. For some, who was it? There was somebody who's climbing on a ladder on top of the cage. One of them.
Yes.
Was it
Kazarian?
Kazarian?
Who it was. It might have been.
What are you doing?
Yeah, nah, no need for that.
Was Brian Kendrick the pirate guy, or am I mixing him up with somebody else?
Nah, he wasn't the pirate guy.
He was the Brian Kendrick.
I remember him as the Brian Kendrick, yeah.
Maybe the pirate guy was somebody else.
He kind of had I think he had a bit of a comeback, and then he got himself in a bit of bother and got cancelled, I think, by promotions. Right. But yeah, I remember when WWE, or you may not have been watching at this point, they did a thing called the Cruiserweight Classic. Right. It was quite it was like a tournament that was all on the network. And they were wanting to push some, smaller guys. And the thing I remember being really good about was back in this day, like Vince clearly wasn't interested in this, so they were just kind of letting them do what they wanted to do, and I think it was Triple H that was in charge of it. But the commentators didn't have Vince in their ear, and it's like I heard Michael Cole for the first time ever, just saying stuff, and I was like, "Oh, what's this?
He's alright, actually."
Michael Cole unfiltered, great. And yeah, it was quite a good tournament. But Brian Kendrick was like a veteran in it, and he kind of stood out. And I think they brought him back for a little while. I think he was quite well thought of, but I think he said something at some point in an interview and got himself in a bit of bother.
I see. I think we watched a pay-per-view and he might have been like 205 Live champion or something.
Yeah, that's very possible, yeah.
Anyway, he is lying under a blanket and he appears and helps the ECW lot, I think. And he then appears to start meditating after he's done that, and he's like rolling his head about and stuff.
Yeah.
All a bit odd. Well, there's a couple of times during this match that the commentary team just completely just lie out because there's so much going on that they're just like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Tommy Dreamer hits a Death Valley driver on AJ Styles from like the second rope onto a chair, and that seems to be enough, despite all that we've seen throughout this match with nightsticks and billy clubs and whatever it was that Raven was doing to Matt Morgan. That's enough to put AJ Styles away. You would think they would put over the TNA.
I would have thought that, and if they wanted like a nostalgia pop, you could have still put over the TNA team and then had the ECW guys do something after the match, a big move on someone or something like that. And I was, again, these things annoy me because I probably overthink them, but why would you have AJ Styles as the guy that has to take the pin? He's surely, of everyone that's in that team, he's your guy that, protect him to some extent.
Kazarian's your man to take the pin in that match.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah, Kazarian absolutely could have taken the pin. James Storm could have taken the pin. Just leave AJ alone.
You would also think overthinking, but you would also think that whoever they had up the top of that cage would be like a big pop reveal, like an ECW.
Yes.
Anakin. It couldn't have been Taz, but
someone with a history in ECW. Yeah.
Crack some of the cane. Yeah. Starts doing his beer thing on the top of the thing. They celebrate and get the win.
Shane Douglas.
Oh, I think he's maybe, But yes, aye.
He was in TNA ages before.
He was.
Remember
when he started, he was like this happy-go-lucky backstage interviewer.
Yeah. That was really funny, actually.
Or RVD. RVD could have been up there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
They're not going to change it now. So we'll see where that goes. I would put some money on EV2 not being a thing by the time we get round to Bound for Glory 2011.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, we've got Kurt. He's looking much healthier, our boy.
Yeah.
He's got his neck muscles back. He's still got the beard. At least he's shaved his head this year.
Yeah.
We're happy. He's with Chris.
Not really in the mood for Chrissy Hemme speaking to him.
Nah. He says, Hulk, this one's for you. I don't like that, Kurt.
No.
We called you the best ever, Kurt. As soon as we did that, you stopped shaving your head, lost all your muscles, and
now you've
aligned
yourself with Hogan.
What next? So we get another one of these video packages with no real dialogue or anything like that, just the three guys that are in this main event. I didn't understand how the world title was vacant. Did you?
Yeah.
Sorry, you have already explained that.
RVD was champion. Abyss injured him. There was a tournament to basically, I think, to come up with two top contenders. Then they would have a match here. However, they did a storyline that I think it was Kurt and Jeff Hardy wrestled to a draw, so they decided it'd be a three-way.
Okay. Did I miss a promo from Mr. Anderson, or is that now?
I think it was earlier. I think it was when they were. I think it was maybe just before that Dudley's in-ring thing. So, the thing I remember most about is I'm sure he's wearing a T-shirt that just says "asshole."
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, because he says, I want to offer an apology to Kurt Angle, and then he starts saying, like, and his family, and his dogs, and his cats, and his guinea pigs, and all that. It's no funny. Kurt punched him in the freaking nuts, the left and the right one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was really charismatic when he was in WWE. It's all been gone. It's all gone.
like, I don't know. Like, I remember he had the cool, the mic would drop and he would grab it and introduce himself. But was that it?
Maybe it was like hardcore Holly, but just with a cool entrance.
I was thinking the same. I remember thinking he was a good promo, but then in hindsight, I'm thinking maybe it was just that.
And when he comes out, so this is a triple threat for the vacant title, the TNA title. Mr. Anderson, Jeff Hardy, and Kurt Angle. When Mr. Anderson comes out, the ring announcer just announces him, and I was like, that doesn't seem right either. But then he does the drop from the sky microphone and does his own ring announcement, which was weird.
It was weird. Like, you would think the ring announcer just wouldn't announce him. He would come down and do it himself. Yeah.
And I think he refers to his like Anderson assholes or something like that, doesn't he? That's a weird one.
I took it personally.
There's quite a lot to talk through here, but as far as like, let's put the finish to the side because that's just a whole lot of anger and red faces from both of us probably. What do you think of the wrestling for these three? I was quite looking forward to Hardy and Kurt Angle.
Yeah, I think I kind of came away from it thinking I'd maybe rather see a singles match.
Just the two of them?
Yeah. So we've got, like, I think Kurt dominates the early stages for a bit, and then I think I've got it in my notes he took a nasty looking fall to the floor.
Just that back body drop over the top rope where he holds on. Over.
Yeah. It didn't. I couldn't tell if he went over the way he was supposed to, or if he was supposed to like land differently or something. I don't know.
He does do that. He does do that sort of over the top rope thing a lot. The way that it lands on his ankles can't be good.
And then, there's a bit of, Jeff throwing himself around and taking out both men and stuff like that. Your sort of classic Jeff stuff. And then I think Jeff actually starts taking a little bit of a beating for a while. And again, as he does for the match. Sometimes triple threats are really good. And it makes sense and it kind of works. I often find what they'll do is maybe there'll be like a move that sidelines somebody for a little while, and then you go into basically a one-on-one for a bit, and then you can have somebody else sort of semi-eliminated for a little bit. I felt like there was an awful lot of this where it was three guys all involved.
Getting in each other's way, falling on top of each other. Yeah, I thought that too.
Just a bit messy.
Aye. There was a bit that really irked me, and I'm sure it's totally that. Anyway, it really annoyed me. It was Angle and Jeff in the ring, and Mr. Anderson was just sat on one knee watching from the side of the ring. And if you go to live wrestling and it's triple threat, you do see that because they kind of have to hide from the cameras or whatever, but he's doing it right in the hard camera.
Yeah.
And then he just like knew his bit to get in and
and it's not like you can easily explain that away. Because say it's an elimination match, you can look and say that guy's being smart. He's kind of staying out the way while these other two guys beat each other down. But when it's the first pinfall gets the win in the title, you would think you don't want to stay too far away from what's going on. You want to make sure you're involved all the way. So it's a hard, when you see that, it's difficult to justify it, to like explain it and make it make sense.
We get quite a cool little bit where Angle has got the ankle lock on Jeff Hardy, and Anderson tries to intervene, and Angle's sticks the ankle lock on both of them. Which is a cool little bit. I've never seen that. They both roll through it, and that's like another example of like bodies just landing on top of each other and stuff. Like that. Where else? Should we just go to the finish?
Yeah, let's go to the finish.
Is the mic check? There's a thing. Let's not go straight to finish because Angle does the most ridiculous moonsault you've ever seen. Christopher Daniels in the mud, sitting there crying backstage after he's seen that. He's going to have to rename his best moonsault ever.
And I always, so often I just expect Angle to miss these moves. I think we've talked about it before, but it's on Jeff, isn't it? And he gets a 2 from that. Is that just before the ref gets knocked down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson does this thing where he's got Angle on his shoulders in a FU position and jumps off the second rope and kind of lands on his... He looked like he's trying to kill himself.
Yeah.
Horrendous. Was that his finishing move, maybe? I'm not sure if it was or not. Yeah, Angle inadvertently takes out Brian Hebner with a clothesline. It doesn't really mean much because the commentary team have told us multiple times this is no disqualification and no count out anyway. Hebner's taken out. Bischoff comes slowly out with his shit-eating grin. He's got a chair. Big Terry's music hits. He's working them crutches, brother. He could at least made some sort of attempt to look like he was in pain. Yeah. He's supposed to have had a back operation. He's just walking, but also doing the crutches.
Yeah.
When he had to bend down to get through the second rope, you kind of realised what was going on here. Angle and Anderson are down for ever. I think it's a double clothesline, and they're down for about a good solid 8 minutes.
The whole thing takes far too long. Like, I get what they're going for in the story of Hogan coming out to confront Bischoff, and Hogan has to be selling his injury, but it takes absolutely... Like, there could have been another move by the two that takes each of them down. It took far too long, but I had no knowledge of what was going to happen here, and I've got in my notes. Hogan on crutches. Are we meant to believe for the first time in history Hogan and Bischoff are not aligned? Is that what's going on here?
He's pointing and staring at Bischoff, like you say. It's so slow. It's like that film Zootropolis when the sloth is talking. Eventually Jeff Hardy gets up. Bischoff hands him one of Hogan's crutches.
Yeah.
He uses it to knock down Anderson. Hogan then hands him the other crutch, and he uses it to knock down Angle, and gets the pin and the win. And at this point, it doesn't even feel like that much of a gotcha. Like, it just feels like, all right, so Jeff's aligned with these. They're supposed to be good guys, are they not? It's not like they've turned heel and aligned themselves with this dastardly heel.
Yeah.
But all Jeff's done is sort of take the crutches off them. It's all a bit anticlimactic.
I mean, I was pretty devastated because to me this means Kurt Angle's retiring.
It does. That's a fair point.
Bad times.
Then, my favourite part of this, RVD comes out. RVD, of all people, comes out and he's like, "Hey Jeff, what are you doing?" This total goofy look on his face. And Jeff solidifies his heel turn, I assume, by hitting RVD with a belt.
Yeah, because so Jarrett, is this just before? Yeah, Jarrett has come out, and you're thinking he's coming out to remonstrate about what's going on, but no, he's coming out to celebrate. He's aligned with Bischoff and Hogan, and then we see Abyss. So this 10-10-10 thing is nothing as intimidating as I thought it might be. He's just aligning with the power group.
Anticlimactic.
Yeah.
This would have benefited from a promo from Hogan, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, we certainly. I've never been his biggest fan, but when you remember some of the, big significant promos he's delivered over time. The thing where he turned heel for to join the
beach.
Yeah, that promo he's cutting in the ring. I mean, he's messing some of it up, but it's brilliant because it's him and he's delivering it and all that. Yeah, I feel like he could have maybe elevated the importance of this by speaking.
It just
seemed a bit like, all right,
give us some sort of indication of what this is.
Yeah,
the crowd don't like it anyway. They are littering the ring with bottles and stuff. That's just quite amusing. Poor Jeff Hardy. I wonder why he's the one. Jeff Hardy and Hulk Hogan don't really seem like...
It's an odd decision, obviously. I think most people know the story that, making Jeff Hardy your champion comes back to bite you eventually. But it does not seem like the guy... There's no way Bischoff and Hogan went in the room when they got a bit of power at TNA and went, who's going to be our guy? That's Jeff Hardy.
Yeah. You heard the thing that Hogan said about Kurt Angle when he first had to get in the ring with him in WWF?
No.
He complained to Vince that your Olympic guy works stiff or something like that. He's complaining about Angle.
Okay.
And we know that Hogan must have grudges. Hogan,
Yeah.
he holds a grudge like Bret Hart. So maybe Kurt Angle's held back a little bit there.
Well, there was a story Angle told about his first interaction with Hogan, and Angle said, I'm relatively young, new in the business and all that. And he said, I've been, working with all the top guys, and I had an expectation. And he said he was told he was going to be working with Hogan, and Hogan turned up like about half an hour before they were due to do their match, and Angle was furious. And he took him aside, and like, well, what are we going to do tonight? And Hogan was basically like, figure it out, it's not. And Angle was raging at this and tore into him, and then I think someone else backstage, or maybe an Austin or someone like that, was like, yeah, Kurt, you maybe got to go a bit easy when you're speaking to a guy like Hogan like that. And Angle was like, but it's unprofessional. And Austin's like, yeah, but he's Hulk Hogan.
She just triple German suplexed him across Gorilla. Tony Khan would have been fearing for his life.
Is he the only guy ever to make Hogan tap out? I think.
Is he?
Kurt Angle. Yeah. Yeah. So he got a significant moment, I suppose, out of it. But he wasn't happy, and he told him about it.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I'll get the star ratings up. See if you agree. Yeah. So, the Motor City Machine Guns versus the Bucks got 4 stars.
Okay.
I agree. RVD Abyss 3.25.
Okay.
Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle, Mr. Anderson got 4 stars.
Wow.
Some of these things you just think, what are they watching? Bizarre. And the Knockouts Women's Title 4-Way match got 6 stars. But the Ospreay special. So that was that. That was 2010. Wasn't it bad? By any means.
I enjoyed the tag match. I thought a couple other matches were pretty good.
Yeah.
I think this was probably better than the last show, wasn't it? The last show was bad.
It was really bad,
yeah.
Yeah. I was reading something about 2010. That's the show we just watched, 2010 today, and it was talking about 2009 was possibly the best Bound for Glory that had been. And we both really, really didn't like 2009, so it's all about opinions, Adam.
Yeah.
Do you want me to talk you through 2011? We've got 2 shows to go.
Exciting.
Because as we discussed today, we will not be partaking in a Brooke Hogan Bully Ray engagement angle.
Yeah, they're taking things too far there. So yeah.
Where are we? Philadelphia. Oh, maybe the ECW thinks Seth's still going for Philadelphia. Okay. A fair few matches on the card. The X Division title match, Austin Aries, the champion, versus Brian Kendrick.
Okay.
A Full Metal Mayhem match. What is that?
Is that like in a cage?
Maybe.
With all the weapons?
Oh, maybe. Like we've just watched.
No, I think this is more. Is it like a?
That was Lethal Lockdown we just watched. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if this one has does it have weapons attached? I can't remember.
Anyway, Full Metal Mayhem match, RVD versus Jerry Lynn.
Oh.
Sounds alright.
Yep.
Triple threat match, Samoa Joe. I mean, he's been that's the 3rd match on the card. Samoa Joe versus Matt Morgan versus Crimson.
Crimson, eh?
Crimson, a.k.a. Anthony Mayweather, a.k.a. Tommy Mercer. Don't know. Sorry, Crimson. No. Falls Count Anywhere match, Bully Ray versus Mr. Anderson.
Okay, so we're into the Bully Ray thing now.
Yep. TNA Women's Knockout Title 4 Corners match, another one, yes. Special referee, Karen Jarrett.
Oh.
Winter, also known as Nikita Temptress. No. Winter versus Mickey James. Yes, come on, Mickey. Versus Velvet Sky versus Madison Rain.
Okay.
So they've really revamped that division. I Quit match, Christopher Daniels versus AJ Styles. Happy days.
Okay. Yep.
Not so happy days. Singles match, Sting versus Hulk Hogan with Ric Flair.
Okay.
And TNA World Heavyweight title match, Kurt Angle versus Bobby Roode.
Oh.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
Now, I know they really built Bobby Roode at a point. So, yeah, I wonder. So, what I don't know is this like a bit of a false dawn, or is this the real, Bobby Roode being built to be a top-tier guy? I suppose we'll see.
Well, it's not like this is like supposed to be like a backlash or a in your house. Like you're bound for glory is supposed to be your big one. So
yeah.
You would
so
think.
if he's getting the shot, then it should be that he's been established.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Sting Hogan match, I believe, is for control of TNA. Shockingly.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Just throw that in. Spice things up a bit.
A lot of singles matches, which is something we're not really accustomed to when it's come to some of these pay-per-views.
So no sign of any Motor City Machine Guns on that card.
No. 2011. I think I was reading about them the other day. Certainly one of them took to New Japan, one of them took to Ring of Honor at some point, so that could be at this point.
Okay.
So there we go. We'll look forward to that.
So
we'll talk our movie this week. We've done it in things in reverse.
I'd like to think we've got, movie buffs that have just had to listen through lots of TNA wrestling.
Just waiting for our horror chat.
Yeah.
Well done if you've managed to stick with us. Welcome to the horror section of the podcast. So we've been... It's funny, my wife said to me, why are you still watching? She said, are you still watching these... No, tell her what she said. What is this you're watching? When I was watching TNA. I says TNA.
Did she say it in that You sounded like she was saying it in a really judgmental way.
Well, she was like, this isn't WWE, is it? No, it's TNA. Why are you watching that? Because this is what we're watching. I thought you watched those Halloween shows. I said, no, we're done that journey. We're off on
to get with the times.
A different journey. So why are you watching horror movies if you're not doing Halloween films? I was like, well, these shows are in October as well. And that was the tenuous link. So anyway, we've carried on from our Halloween Havoc shows when we used to pick the old horror films from that year. So we're still doing it and we enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's it, right? So this week, from 2010, we watched Let Me In, which is the American Hollywood remake of Let the Right One In. Yeah. Scandinavian horror film. Got a synopsis here, I'll just bring that up.
Yeah.
Very brief. A bullied young boy befriends a young female vampire who lives in secrecy with her guardian. That's a hit you over the head synopsis if ever there was one.
Yeah.
Some cast members we've got here: Cody Smith McPhee as Owen, Chloe Grace Moretz as Abby, Richard Jenkins as the father, Elias Koteas as a policeman, the greatest Casey Jones there ever was, Elias Koteas, amongst others. Let's just sort of set the scene. Have you seen Let the Right One In? Yeah.
I have, yeah. I'd never seen this before, but I'd seen Let the Right One In.
Okay, same. It's a pretty amazing film, fair to say.
Yes, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. I feel like, director of this was Matt Reeves, who most recently directed The Batman. I feel like I read something that Matt Reeves, when he was handed this, watched Let the Right One In. It's based off a book, so he read the book, watched the film and said, why are they making this? I think this is one of those ones that somebody does to try and get on, sort of thing, rather than anything else.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a fair question. they take the themes and tone and setting and all that are very, very pretty much like for like as far as the original's concerned. Yeah,
it's a funny situation because I was reading about what critics thought from a remake point of view, effectively, and what a lot of horror fans thought of that, and you're basically people taking the opposite stance but saying the same thing, which is this is basically a like for like remake, and half of them saying that's great, that's what you want because that's the story, and the other half saying what's the point? That film already exists, so if you're going to remake it, why wouldn't you put a different slant on it? So yeah, it was funny to hear they're making the same point but totally opposing views on that.
Yeah, like I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's merit in the film.
I thought it was very well acted. Like I thought the young actors were both excellent.
The wee lad's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
and so's Chloe Grace Moretz. She just, I wonder what age she is. She seems to play a kid in like everything she's in. But then I've been watching something called The Peripheral on Amazon Prime that she's in, and she's really good in that as well. She's a good actress. She's obviously good in Kick-Ass. Have you seen the Carrie remake that she's in?
No, I've never watched that. Some of these horrors, I'm a bit wary about watching the remakes.
Yeah,
so I've never done it.
I think we both agreed Richard Jenkins is like absolutely perfectly cast as her. What you refer as a familiar?
Yeah.
Like a sort of lackey for the vampire that goes and does their bidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's perfect in that role.
Yes, he's so good.
Yeah,
that scene where he goes out and you get two different kind of scenes. There's a scene where he goes out and he abducts somebody. He's got them hanging upside down and cuts the neck so he can get the blood in the thing. That's chilling.
Yeah.
And he spills the blood and all that.
That got me because he's not wanting to do this. No. He feels he needs to do this. And the moment where he spills the blood and he realizes he's basically just done that for nothing.
Yep.
And that's brutal. That's
really is.
Brutal. Yeah.
And then the next scene where he goes out to get somebody else is also a bit of a farce. And he's got this bin bag over his face, looking like really menacing. The young lad turns around in his car and sees him lying there.
Yeah.
And he has to fight for his life. He pours like ammonia or something like that. It pours in his face so that he can't be identified.
Yeah.
That's all pretty brutal.
Like there's so much in this that's good. There's so much in the original film that's so good. Like because you're so many of your stories are like, here's the good guy, here's the bad guy, and this is so much more than that because this girl doesn't, and she says it like she doesn't want to be a vampire. She says something about all she wants is a friend, and you're like, oh, it's just a wee kid that just wants a friend. And the boy who is being viciously bullied at his school is just looking to make a connection. He's not got a happy home life. He's just looking for something. And you end up like see the moments. There's a moment where he smacks one of the bullies with something at like are they on an ice rink or something like that
or something, or a big pool or something.
Loved that. I was like, yes. And then the moment where he's basically being drowned in the pool and she makes the save.
Yep.
And you're wanting those bullies to die because you feel for the kid, and then you're also feeling for the vampire. So you're like, oh, it's really cleverly done. It's really well done.
It really is. It is. And then by the end, like you say, all he's wanted, he really does. All he wants is a friend and somebody understand him. Like right at the start, he's doing the whole in his room with like a creepy mask on, looking through his telescope at his neighbours and stuff like that. And it's just a troubled kid, but there's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah,
he's just quiet and a little bit lonely and troubled. By the end of it, you feel sorry for him. By the end of it, because all he's done is turned himself into Richard Jenkins' character.
Yeah. And you see, because it ends with him on a train with her in the case. And where the story is going from there.
Yep.
You know that he is now going to be basically trying to help keep her going, and doing whatever he needs to do. And it's sad, but it's also like, I don't know. It's like, okay, they're still going. It doesn't just put one emotion in your mind. It's kind of conflicting.
It's all tangled up. Yep, 100%. Yeah, it's really clever. It's clever writing to have that turn all the way around to the end there, and you know that like how desperate he is to have someone. But then Richard Jenkins' character was played, and I think he comes across a photo of them both as kids, doesn't he?
Yes.
And she just still looks the same, and he's a young lad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Richard Jenkins says I think he says something like, "I don't think I can do this anymore." Or what if I wanted to get caught? She says, "You could have got caught." He says, "What if I wanted to?" Or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just had enough. Now we're talking about it, it's really good.
Yeah.
Quite to go back. I've never read the book. I'd quite like to read the book, but I don't know if I've spoiled it for myself by watching both the films.
Yeah, I suppose there's an order you ideally want to do it all in, but yeah.
Anything else on
I don't think so. No, I think we've covered that. Yep.
Would you? It's hard to sort of. You wouldn't call it a vampire film, would you? It's more than that.
Nah. Yeah, it's more than that. Like I think. Yeah, the sort of the complexities, the human dynamics, human relationships. Yeah, it'd feel like it was maybe belittling it a little bit to just say it's just a vampire film. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just having a look on the trivia to see if there's the trash bag that Richard Jenkins wears over his head in the murder scenes was the actor's idea. Have you seen The Batman?
Yes. Yeah.
His mask, the mask thing that he wears, very similar to what his version of the Riddler, not his version, Matt Reeves' version of the Riddler looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Aye. Definitely recommend. If you've listened to that and we've spoiled the whole film, I'd still recommend you go and watch it because it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, you'll enjoy
it. For next week, we're in 2011. We're going to watch Kill List. I'm just going to bring that up and I'll give you a synopsis for that. You've not seen Kill List?
I've never seen it. Have you?
I've wanted to see it. Lots of times I've looked up and thought I'm going to watch that and never done it, so looking forward to it.
Yep.
Kill List. Nearly a year after a botched job, a hitman takes a new assignment with the promise of a big payoff for 3 killings. What starts off as an easy task soon unravels, sending the killer into the heart of darkness.
Nice.
I think we've got a bit of folk horror type stuff going on.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. I think I've heard it covered on that horror film podcast I listened to, but I don't remember any of the detail, which is good because it's going to be totally fresh to me when I watch it.
Excellent, cool. Well, at least if the Bound for Glory is subpar, then at least we've got that to look forward to.
Yeah, nice.
Excellent. Well, we shall speak again in 2 weeks. Till then, take it easy.
Yeah.
You too. Thanks. I'll try. Lots of question marks at the end of our sentences. Speak in 2 weeks.
Cheers.